So, last time we were on the GameCube, we were playing WrestleMania 18, which wasn't a bad game, but also wasn't great. I can still remember looking at screenshots of WrestleMania 19 before it dropped and being really impressed with the visuals. But not all games that look good are good games. Well, let's dive into it. WrestleMania 19 for the Nintendo GameCube. The intro is pretty much what we saw in the last game. Clips from the actual WrestleMania this game is based on. Wrestlers like Angle, Hogan, Taker, and Triple H talk about what WrestleMania means to them. It's pretty cool, but looks more like a commercial for the WrestleMania DVD than an intro to a video game. I mean, I want to see action and hear loud music and not a bunch of slow motion shots, but nevertheless, it's just an intro, and I normally skip these once I've seen them once anyway. While it's not a huge roster, I like the choices we got here. A lot of established main eventers like Hogan, The Rock, Austin, Triple H, Taker, Lesnar, and Goldberg are here, along with a lot of rising talent like Edge, Batista, Mysterio, Guerrero, and Cena. Oh, and Mr. Nice Guy himself, Scotty Steiner. Entrances are so-so. I appreciate the fact that they're full-length entrances and don't skip around, but they still have that stiff, jerky look that WrestleMania 18 had. The pyro looks great for some wrestlers and not so good for others. The sound of the pyro is spot on though, which is something they're still having trouble with to this day. Kane's in-ring pyro, for example, is not a low, bass-filled rumble like 2K15 will lead you to believe. It's a loud, obnoxious pop. And I know this as I've experienced it firsthand in person many times throughout the last 15 years. Regardless, the entrances were just fine for the time and have only aged a little bit. Oh yeah, Hogan tears his shirt off in this game. Now, it doesn't look great, but hell, at least they tried, unlike some of the other WWE games at the time. And Hogan easily has one of the best entrances in the game. The arena selection, on the other hand, is looking pretty bleak. We only get Raw, SmackDown, SummerSlam 2002, Royal Rumble 2003, and WrestleMania 19. I mean, there's a King of the Ring tournament in the game, but no arena for it. It's a bit disappointing, but it's not like WrestleMania 18 had a whole lot of selection, so we'll take what we can get. Now let's move into the gameplay department. This game plays a lot like WrestleMania 18, and that's because it's the same game engine. It has been refined a bit though this time. They gave us a strong grapple, which is performed by holding down the A button. Now if you've ever played No Mercy on the Nintendo 64, and I'm sure you have, this game controls a lot like that game did. Not a whole lot else has changed in the gameplay department. They did add and reanimate a bunch of moves, which is great, as that was one of the problems with WrestleMania 18. I will say this game just feels better to play, but some of its predecessor's problems do remain, like the fact that being anywhere near somebody that's performing a move will knock you on your ass. This can be funny at times, but can also get really frustrating when all you want to do is perform a finisher. The biggest improvement this game got has to be the graphics. WrestleMania 18 looked pretty bad at times. This game looks a whole lot better. The wrestlers still feel a bit on the small side, but the textures are a whole lot crisper than before. Sometimes the muscle tone shading can look a bit strange on a wrestler's back or arms, but that's really a small gripe seeing how far they've come visually. The crowd looks a bit more animated, and the arenas even have a bit more detail than the previous title. Now, one thing this game lacks that pissed off a lot of gamers is a true story mode. Instead, we have Revenge Mode, which doesn't even take place in a wrestling ring. Hell, it doesn't even take place in an arena for that fact. You choose a wrestler, then follows is a clip of your wrestler being escorted from a backstage area per Vince McMahon's orders. Your contract has expired and he wants you gone. You run into Stephanie and she has a plan for revenge. You'll run around various locations following out her orders. Usually you're just beating people up like security guards and construction workers, but you'll also face the occasional wrestler. And here you're typically just looking for a KO instead of a pinfall. some of the tasks involve you destroying property, like here in this mission I have to slam enemies into vehicles to advance to the next task. Honestly, I had quite a bit of fun with this back when the game came out. I can see where people were upset that we got this instead of a career mode, but it was different and I can appreciate that. It's actually still pretty entertaining to this day, but not for long periods. WrestleMania 19 offers up all the standard match types you've come accustomed to by this time. With the exception of rare matches like Casket and Inferno, just about everything is here. TLC is fun, but when doing tag matches, we run into that ever so annoying collision issue. Anytime you think you've gotten close to grabbing that belt, it only takes a simple body slam anywhere near that ladder to send you crashing down to the canvas. It's not a deal breaker, there's still a lot of fun to be had here, but it can get quite frustrating at times. And the AI has a bad habit of grabbing a table or ladder just about any time you've just finished setting it up. Table matches can be won or lost way too easily. I mean, you can grab a table as soon as the match starts and slam your opponent or get slammed by your opponent through the table almost instantly. There should have been some kind of stamina system that requires you to beat on your opponent for a while before you have the ability to use the table. These matches just don't last. Same goes with the cage match. It really doesn't take much to climb out of the cage. While taking this footage, I was actually just trying to climb up to the top to perform a diving attack, as the match hadn't been going on for very long, and RVD just kind of went up and over and Benoit just kind of watched. Other than having to climb out of the cage, there isn't much to differentiate this match type from the others. Helena Cell is pretty standard by now, and by that I mean just about every WWE title around this time had one simple formula for this match type. Basic in-ring stuff, slam opponent into cell walls, cell breaks, go outside of cell, climb cell, slam opponent through top of cell, or in this case get your DDT reversed and end up getting a spinebuster through the roof by Mr. Nice Guy himself. Nothing super special here, but definitely still one of my favorite match types. Hardcore match is another one of my favorite match types. In fact, it always has been, going back to WWF Warzone on the PS1. There's just something about weapons that make wrestling that much better. The game doesn't contain any backstage areas, unless you want to include the revenge stages, but I don't think that counts. I'd like to be able to run into the locker room and slam my opponent into something, but at least we can make our way all the way up the ramp and fight there on the stage. That's always fun. Royal Rumble still only lets 4 people on screen at the same time, which is a shame as the PS2 games were already allowing 6. However, this is still one of the game's best modes, and it's easy to kill quite a bit of time playing through it. The music fits the game a bit better this time around. Pretty much the standard WWE video game stuff at the time. I think the sound effects sound really good for the most part, aside from some of the punching and grappling noises. They can sound a bit cartoony at times. There's still a lack of ringside commentary and no entrance announcer, but we do get a cheesy sounding announcer who says about 5 different things like this. Smash! Now, I mentioned the King of the Ring tournament, but it's nothing to write home about, just a series of matches where you can decide to chase a title if you'd like. I noticed they often have intergender matches lined up in this mode though, which is a bit strange. Back at the game's main menu, you can check out Superstar Profiles, which gives you basic info on wrestlers, along with title history, and if you stay on a wrestler's profile for a few seconds, a little clip of his or her finisher will play, which is a nice little touch. There's also the Shop Zone, where a scantily clad Stacy Keibler will guide you through the store's menus. Here you can spend money you've gained throughout Revenge Mode to purchase items such as weapons, entrance templates, and finishers. The Create a Wrestler mode was overhauled completely, giving more of a feel that the PS2 games had. Instead of being limited to pre-arranged faces, you can now select from different eyes, noses, mouths, and so on for more variety. I must say though, this is where the game can get ugly. You can definitely tell a created wrestler versus a WWE in-game model. They just look out of place. But back then, I didn't really care. I liked the amount of options I was given and didn't really know any better. The entrance creator was absolute genius. At the time, we were usually limited to selecting pre-made entrances with pyro and lighting already structured into them. Not here. We can select what lighting we want and when we want it, what pyro we want, right down to the second we want it to go off, and even how long we want our wrestler to wait before he steps through those curtains and onto the ramp. This amount of freedom felt great, and other than Raw on the Xbox, we weren't used to this kind of treatment. This game was easily better than WrestleMania 18 when it came out. I played the hell out of this game, and playing it again felt good. The roster at the time was loaded with huge stars, it had plenty of match types we wanted, the game engine was improved a bit, but I feel it was held back probably because of the lack of career mode. Nevertheless, this is a really good wrestling title. The first really good one we got on the GameCube, but it definitely wouldn't be the last.
Thank you very much.